Good morning. So the previous three videos, I guess already, we talked about getting into the air ASAP and talked about the website in general. The third video was about Epic One, where you build an FPV drone to get your skills up. And now this video number 4 is Epic number 2, building and flying a Pixhawk drone. So the Pixhawk drone, let's go here. There's two different versions for doing this. Um, what I documented here is what I did. I used a Pixhawk 6C. Pixhawk is the kind of drone um, flight controller. Unlike the Speedy Bee, which is like a printed circuit board, the Pixhawk comes in like a plastic case, and I don't know what's inside of it, but I guess there's a lot more than what you just have in the Speedy Bee. And unlike the Speedy Bee, you don't solder wires to the board. You have connectors that you just plug in. So I would kind of compare the difference to something like, Speedy Bee is maybe a bare bones Linux computer, and a Pixhawk 6C would be something like a Windows computer, possibly a difference like that. So in this epic is only about building that Pixhawk 6C drone. So, and this shows you what I did, my first build with this Pixhawk 6C drone. Here you see in the middle, that's the Pixhawk 6C flight controller. And there's also a wireless telemetry module here on it. And the wireless telemetry is basically what it does is you can take a computer with the same kind of wireless telemetry module, and then you can basically connect to your Pixhawk 6C and get information. You can control the Pixhawk 6C. That's an interesting thing from how the Pixhawk differs from the FPV, is you can run a program called Mission Planner or Q Ground Control, QGC, and actually fly or control your Pixhawk drone from your computer, which is really interesting. And here's the battery, and here we have this GPS module. So it's a much, much larger device. And what I did on my first build is like I did with the FPV. I did a kitchen test, a kitchen table test like this. So this is the really big job, is getting this going. Okay. So the first flight indoors. Okay, I don't have a bunch of websites. I did all this before I really. Let me tell you what I did. When I first started here, I first created the Speedy Bee with beta flight for Epic One. But at that time, I was so preoccupied with learning the basics, I didn't really have the mental energy to go through and make the wiki pages for it. So when I took that beta flight copter and I put iNav on it, I changed the firmware. That's when I made all these wiki pages. So I need to go back through and make the wiki pages the same for this beta flight. So the Pixhawk drone was the same way when I went through it the first time. Actually, I tried getting the first time I tried Autopilot. And I ran into a problem with Autopilot, the same problem I had with the Autopilot on the SpeedyBee F04. Everything worked, but when you got to the part where you uh, tried to verify, you tried to test the motors, you tried to spin the motors, and nothing worked. And there's obviously a small problem somewhere. I got into some forums on the internet, and that was there's no real help from that. So I have to go back through and try these Autopilot configurations again and see if I can find where my problem is. And that again is a key when you're building all this stuff. You know why I call this an epic? Because when you do this configuration for the first time, there are so many things, details, that none of the YouTube-based tutorials and the websites, they leave out lots of details, and details are everything. So I'm trying to get the motors run on this under Autopilot, and there's some setting somewhere that's wrong, but I spent a week or whatever and I couldn't figure it out. I went to PX4. I got it running right away, no problem. So we look on the Gdrive. I'll just show you the Word file, this 5.1. About the numbering on here, you see this 4B5. That was the previous numbering of this file. I've moved around these. Wiki sections quite a bit. As I'm doing this stuff, I do something and then I understand better how it works, and then I try to rearrange the concepts so that we end up with a wiki that from start to finish is basically a smooth flowing conceptual whole. So we go to the Gdrive and look at this 5.1. So you see there are several documents here. There's one about doing a mission. So we get here. And so you see it's a little bit rough, this document. Like all of my Word documents, these were first lab notes where I would first go into the internet, try to find any information, try to find a YouTube channel that would explain how to install this and get this Pixhawk running, and anything I could find. And when I found something, I'd document it. So okay, so this is the document that has all the details, and obviously I need to go back through that and rearrange everything. So here's the minimum viable platform. Okay, there's no soldering on this. When you buy this, this is an X500 kit from Hollybro, and so all these connectors here, you just plug them in. So in a lot of ways, this was easier than the FPV build. But what's better about the FPV build is you see much more of what you're doing. For example, what you'll find is with this Pixhawk, this is like a black box. There's a lot of stuff going on inside here. And some things are really, really confusing because of that aspect. So I would prefer to have, my dream build would be something like the FPV that has the extra functionality Pixhawk has to do certain things. But the FPV, the firmware, the iNav and the Betaflight, don't have that extra functionality. Autopilot does, but Autopilot, I'm not so sure it really works that well on an FPV drone. Autopilot is really designed for Pixhawk devices. Anyway, that's why I try to get Autopilot running on here. And so anyway, you get your first flight indoors. And when you're doing that flight indoors, you're not going to really have a GPS. You're not going to have a very decent GPS connection. So it doesn't, where my personal situation is, I don't have a place where I could safely fly, test fly my copter right outside where I'm living here. So, so the next thing after, let's see, after you get that, after you do your kitchen test, is you want to go out and use the GPS flight modes. And this shows here, you want to get your GPS running and you want to use flight modes. The flight modes here are loiter and hold and land. So what this is you take your TX12, you when you go out to fly it, you first arm it by doing this. You set up these switches here. What this piece of paper shows is you've got this upper right here, you've got this switch. It's going to be your arm. So you're going to go out to the field, you're going to click that, you're going to bring that down, that's going to arm it. And these are your flight modes: stabilize, hold, and land. The Pixhawk device is bigger, it's much easier to fly. And then you have this loiter mode, where it just kind of stays in the air. I think loiter is pretty much like hold. And then you have a kill switch, which is really nice. And so when I first tested this, my Pixhawk drone build, everything worked the first flight. So when I did this with PX4, the installation, there were no big problems. I struggled with Autopilot on both the FPV and the Pixhawk and couldn't get past the motor problem. And then I had lots of problems when I was flying the FPV. But this just simply worked, which was quite a pleasant surprise. And it was a little bit encouraging because I was starting to wonder if I knew what I was doing. So, and then missions. This is the good thing about PX4 and Autopilot. Unlike the speedy iNav missions, which to me is a is not that great of an implementation, the missions here simply works. And that's where you, on your device, at home, you connect to your device, the computer, and then on the computer, you create a mission. Now, the white lines you see here, that's a satellite picture of the soccer fields where I went to do my first flight. So this, you're actually looking at the grass on the field. And here's your altitude and everything. And so I made this mission. And the mission, what that is when you're working in this application, you are going to create a small text file that you're gonna upload. See, upload required right here. You're going to specify GPS coordinates, altitude, all kinds of stuff. Then you're going to upload it to your copter. And then you're going to take your copter out there. When you put your copter down at the soccer field, it's going to recognize where it is, and it knows what the flight plan is. And then what you're going to do is come in and you're going to say arm, and then you're going to start off and stabilize. You're going to get your copter into the air, and then you're going to take this C switch here, what I did, put it in the middle, and that puts you in mission mode. And at that point, that copter will take off in mission mode, and it will actually fly this autonomously. And for me, that worked the first time. The altitude was right. Everything was just great. Everything worked great. And this was on the 19th of June. And yeah, the 19th of June. And this is a video. Well, that's the video. What was that? Oh, oh no, sorry, that was AI object recognition. Um, let's see, where is the video of it flying? Maybe I didn't get a video. I forgot to get a video. Anyway, I thought I had a video of that. But basically what it did was I took it out in the field and tested it. I guess I didn't get a video of that. It went and did that flight test all by itself. It did that path and then came back and landed. And everything worked like I said the first time. So that's why I've done things the way I have here. Is Betaflight worked fantastic. iNav worked fantastic. Autopilot, I am not impressed by Autopilot. And it's something, in my opinion, you should avoid. And so then I also tried Autopilot, spent weeks, months on this. And then I got into PX4 and everything just worked. My first flight worked and my first mission flight worked with no errors. So it was really encouraging. So that's the end of this video. The next video I'll talk about taking that copter that I had created here in chapter 5. And this is and then adding stuff for AI, but that's in the next video.